Thank you for sharing your time with us here on So Janelle, where we feature stories of immigration and representation with the objective to entertain and to inspire as well. This story is a little bit difficult to swallow because it involves the story of child abuse as well as a story on autistic children. April is Autism Awareness Month as well as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and this is very timely story because this features a Filipina mom whose twin boys are nonverbal and have been diagnosed as autistic. They're nonverbal, and so they couldn't defend themselves against the abuse perpetrated by someone that their parents trusted. Here is the full story.
Every day we pray and we know that there's a future for them, even though that the journey's going to be different.
Charles, so nice to meet you. I've known Nadine for a while, though we lost contact. But yeah, I've never met you, so this is good, and thank you for inviting us to your home. Nadine, we lost touch just as I was getting married, but you had just given birth to twin boys at that time. That was what, 2010? Yeah. Can you take us through your motherhood journey?
So I was so excited to have twins. Twins run in my family on my dad and mom's side. So I was in ecstasy, and I couldn't wait to be a mother because I'm an older mom. Fortunately, my pregnancy went really well, but my boys were delivered earlier, so they were premature.
Full range of emotions, the complete range, being completely ecstatic about it to being, completely scared about it too, and just having to go through a whole new change in life. So,
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Having babies, it's a miraculous time, right? But it is also difficult. But I can imagine that it's even more difficult if there is a condition. When did you start noticing that there was something unusual, right, with the children?
The speech delays and the walking delays is what first alerted us, and the eye contact. There wasn't as much as there should be. Speech was delayed, walking was delayed. And so when we decided to contact the regional center, they said that they can't give a diagnosis of autism at that age, but it's autism-like symptoms. And that was a shock to the system, obviously. We always, as Nadine said, attributed it to prematurity. These were preemie babies. So we thought, okay, well, it's just a delay because they're preemies, it's just delayed because they're preemies. But then at a certain point, they're supposed to reach certain milestones, and they did not reach that. And so when we first got that diagnosis, initial reaction is shock, It's shock, it's fear, you're everyone wants, their children to develop, perfectly and be like all the other kids, right? And so that was the very beginning of our journey. That's this continuing journey of realizing that, we're gonna need to take special measures. We're gonna need to, change our lifestyle. We're gonna need to look out for them in a way that I didn't think we would. So all of a sudden you're looking way into the future and wondering, okay, what do we need to do? We need to do everything that we possibly can do for them, as any parent would, right?
Well, when the boys were diagnosed or given a temporary diagnosis of PDNOS before autism, we had to adjust our schedules. We had to adjust our entire lifestyle to accommodate all the therapies. Being parents is one thing for a typical child, but being parents for special needs children, it's a whole new ballpark. We had to ensure that our boys can have a good trajectory in life. And so I researched. We put them in UCLA's programs. We called all the specialists and doctors. I networked with other special needs moms. I needed to find a different path because what our dreams were before is changed. So we had to make a new chapter, a new story, and have a new dream.
What are the specific difficulties and rewards in caring for kids with autism?
The difficulties are, Sleep difficulties. There was a time where we had to do a sleep study with them too, because they would stay up all day, not go to bed until 11, wake up at 3 in the morning and not take a nap for the whole day. Also, because they couldn't walk and they weren't reaching certain milestones and cognitive milestones, we always had to have therapists coming over here all the time. And you could tell, very early on, kind of the trajectory that they're going with not being able to speak, and going through speech therapists so much, and them not being able to get their words out.
I look at them, they're my babies. God gave them to us. My husband and I, we prayed for them really hard. Their names say it all. I mean, if you, Christian and Christopher, Christ is in their name.
You really appreciate a lot, little things you may not have appreciated before. They don't speak, but if they're giving any type of verbal cues, like little things, like most people wouldn't think much of babbling, but when we started hearing them babbling, I was, oh my gosh, did you hear that? They made it, and it was way late in the game, but it's like very small things. If they could sit down at a table for longer than 5 minutes, that was great. And now I still appreciate the small things, if they wave hi to somebody spontaneously. Wow, I mean, most times you don't think about that, we do that all the time. But it's things like that. You really do appreciate the very small things, and when they do something new, it's gold. It's beautiful.
You forget about the chronological age and what's expected, but we learned also another blessing is presumed competence. Just because they have a diagnosis and they cannot be verbal, maybe they will be, but they can communicate in other ways. So I knew before the diagnosis, but after having that diagnosis, I still stated, God gave me these 2 beautiful children. There's a reason, and I will be there for them. I will be the mom who will let them grow and learn. And disregarding their diagnosis, I will bring them to play dates. I will bring them to different events. We went to Disneyland when they were little. Nothing's gonna stop us. You're gonna do what all normal kids do, and I'm not gonna label you by the label.
You've been going through these challenges and celebrating small wins and appreciating everything, but at the same time fighting for your children and fighting for, like other parents, fighting to protect them, right? But now it seems like you're in a bigger, larger scale fight. And this involves the society.
The specific fight that we're in right now is with the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District. And there was abuse with our children at their school in their special needs class.
We introduced you to a couple, Nadine and Charles Wong. Nadine is Filipina, and she is now fighting for justice. Both parents are heartbroken over what happened to their children. Twin boys who have been living with autism. They are nonverbal and now have also been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder after having experienced abuse. Here is the continuation of the story of the Wong family's fight for justice.
Well, my boys love the outdoors. They love to tandem surf. We live in Malibu, so we're always at the beach. That's their happiest place. From knowing my children to be happy boys and everybody loves them, they were lovable. And they always told us before at school that they were, good boys. But during that school year when they were in the 2nd grade, things started to change. Things started to change and we didn't know why. They would always be agitated. They'd come home from school as if they're scared or sad. They couldn't tell me, and we thought, okay, did you just have a long day at school? But I wish that I could read their minds, because if I knew that there was some turmoil or something going on in the school, that I could have helped them then and there. But I wasn't able to. I'm not a mind reader. And so what would happen is behaviors escalated. Both of them would pull hair, bite
They'd
skin.
be more aggressive out of nowhere.
Yes, out of sporadic. They would just hurt you. I mean, nobody's afraid of, you're not supposed to be afraid of your children, right? But there was a time in that period when we did not know what was happening in the school district that I was afraid of my children.
They would just all of a sudden, during something preferable, if Nadine was, reading a book to them, sitting on the couch, happy as can be, and then all of a sudden, which we didn't understand why, just grab and pull her hair, and pull her hair down, grab them and try to bite her shirt, and she was just very agitated. Something was wrong. We noticed that, after they come home from school, instead of just like relaxing and playing, and as kids do, it just seems like they were like just more bothered, that something was bothering them. We couldn't ask them why. They can't tell us why, but you could just tell that they were just more fidgety, more angry, more aggressive, just more I don't know, things like that. As a parent could tell, it's definitely a big change in their behavior.
So your boys are 11 now, and this happened when they were 8.
Yes.
When they started coming home, was it gradual? Did you notice anything like escalating?
This is what bothered me because they're nonverbal. They would come home with scratches and marks, like a handprint on them, or cuts, or bruises, even on their face or on their body parts. And so I would take pictures and then email the teacher, and I was like, oh, can you tell me what happened? Why does so-and-so have this mark, or so-and-so have that mark? And the teacher would be like, oh, they probably fell, or they're probably in the garden, cut their hands. They disregarded that. But I took pictures. I had so many questions for them, and they would always say, the boys probably did that when they were playing. Things escalated. It was just percolating like a volcano to a point wherein things could just trigger them. And out of the blue, they will literally bite you on your skin.
Yeah, they were biting the therapists on their skin. They were biting us on the skin. We didn't know what it was. We were trying to go down a list to see what could it possibly be of why these kids are like. We went to the dentist multiple times. Is it their teeth? Is it because their teeth are coming out? He's just saying, no, it's not their teeth. It shouldn't be bothering them. We go to the pediatrician, get a full checkup on them. How are they doing? Pediatrician gives a clear bill of health. They track everything, so they want to track what happens before a behavior comes and not. And a lot of times they couldn't make a direct correlation of what was happening.
All inconclusive. We
We
had specialists who do FBAs, which are called functional behavioral assessments. So like what Charles said, it's a thorough. They will trigger. So if everything's inconclusive, that means, there's something internally happening with my children, and they can't tell. And so, how many specialists does a parent need to go through and still have no answers?
Doctors, dentists, behavioral specialists, and all that, all inconclusive. When did you finally get some light on what was going on?
We found out from transportation coming back from school. There was a staff member of the school that told us to look at the video, that we are allowed to look at the video camera on the school bus. So at first we were like, what is going on? Something is obviously up. So we got in contact with that person, and initially we found out that the aide of the boys was twisting his arm, trying to get him to comply, was pushing his hands down on the seat, was restraining him without any type of authorization to restrain him. And when we found that out, obviously we called the school immediately and wanted a meeting to see what was going on. That morning of the meeting, we had a sheriff come to our door, and we were wondering what was going on with that. And he asked to see the boys. We were like, first we thought it was a mistake, we were with our boys all the time. Asked to see the boys, we asked what this was about, and he said it was about abuse. And we're like, what is going on?
Your world stops.
Your world stops, your heart stops. What?
My boys, during this whole ordeal, is getting abused on a daily basis.
It's happened for quite a while. She basically, anytime that he was able, they even ended up, showing him a bottle, he would be scared of it. How does that happen, right?
In the behavior world, you're conditioning a person to be fearful of you by just showing the object that is used for punishment.
Which is the hand sanitizer.
Which is the hand sanitizer that they had used.
So the cuts and the bruises are coming from because of the abuse.
Yes.
That's what we believe, yes.
Have you tried to talk to the person involved?
Well, we were hoping when we went that we would go through the school and they would do what is the right thing. They would do something,
Yes.
We never expected
Nothing
this.
at all.
The school bus driver that initially told us this, she went up the ladder to try and tell people at the school district what was going on.
She was blowing the whistle.
She was blowing the whistle. You know what they did? Nothing.
The bus driver said, you know what, I mean, I'm a grandmother, and she knows that the special ed director has children. She's like, what if this happened to your children? You know what he told her? Well, my children can speak.
That is heartless.
Why would a major school district, such as Santa Monica Malibu School District, be willing to cover this up and expose another child to this person who may do the same thing? And even if she doesn't, she's done it before. She's already done it, it's on record. And yet they aren't telling the parents. I don't believe that they're telling the parents what she has done. She's still in the school district, never missed one day of school. They kept her to work, they just moved her to a different school. That's ridiculous. We have to get this person out for one thing. We wanted to find out the facts for another thing. You know, what exactly went on, you know?
Right.
Why was nothing done? Is there a reason for that? Or if nothing was done and something really did go on, why? That's crazy.
So you were looking for answers.
Yes.
And so you went to this lawyer to help you get answers. You weren't necessarily planning for this to be an ongoing trial, which it will be now that you're going into a civil trial. What happened? Why did that change?
We discovered, or at least for me, while sitting in that administrative hearing, so much was revealed that I was sickened. I couldn't believe the underbelly of what was going on at the school, at the district that we sent our kids to school every single day. I could not believe it. The testimony that they gave as a special director, a PhD, one of the questions asked was, you know, did you ever have a conversation about that use of hand sanitizer on a child? And his answer went something like, I know that we had a conversation, I don't remember what it was about. You're telling me that while dealing with abuse at the school, that he had a conversation and didn't know anything about that? Some of the testimony given over there also was if they asked her if she had, you know, ever used, you know, the hand sanitizer in a negative way.
Right.
The aide giving testimony herself. Initial testimony was no, we didn't even have hand sanitizers in the classroom.
And that's a lie.
That is a lie. And then she was asked if she had ever used it on the children before. Never used it on the children. Not even once, not even once. After that ridiculous testimony, the judge herself asked her, no, really, tell me what happened. That's what the judge said. Oh, I only used it a couple of times. I only used it a few times. That's what she said.
And now it's changed.
And now it's changed. How many times did you use it? Once, twice a day while the sink was broken. That's what she said. For how long? She said something like for 2 weeks. It went from zero, not even in the classroom, to she had used it. It's all on record. So knowing this, you would think the school would be like, okay, someone did wrong, right? You know, we should just make this right, at least get rid of it. No, they're trying to fight it right now, and it never even happened.
That's where I was going to next, is because you lawyered up just looking for answers. What they did was, instead of just giving you the answers and doing something about it, they also lawyered up.
They lawyered up.
What is their case?
Their case is they deny it. They deny
It's all
that
denial.
it's all denial.
You want to do something immediately because these are your treasures. These are your kids. Nobody wants their child to be hurt. I mean,
To be honest, it's not just your children. These are our children. It's the society's responsibility to take care of our society's children. That's how we will be judged, because these are our future, right? And speaking of future, how has this period now and this experience for your boys, how will it affect their future?
They've been diagnosed with PTSD after this. It was very severe. We like I said, the behaviors were so high, and they continued to be high. And also there was so much regression in everything from, you know, even at that age, from potty training, everything started going backwards, you know. And when you're working with special needs kids, when you're working with kids with autism, it takes a lot to make a little step. It really does. When you make those little steps and something like this happens and pushes them way far back, you can't make up that time. I mean, you just have
You've
to.
lost
You've
that
lost
time.
that time, and so it puts them in a, you know, it puts them in back trajectory, and their future trajectory is also highly impacted because, you know, we're seeing way more aggression than we used to, you know, again, and it's from there. We went to during the pandemic, one of the very few speech therapists. Was it speech?
It was educational therapy.
Educational therapy that were still taking in-home visits to see them in person instead of virtual. And we brought them in there, and the first thing that she wanted to do was use some hand sanitizer to clean their hands. Christopher just backed away. He was scared of it when they did it, and he backed away.
And shaking.
And that affected him, obviously, until, during the pandemic up until now. We can't use that on them.
We live in a world that needs hand sanitizers, and needs hygiene. We can't use hand sanitizer right now. He looks at it, he knows. I mean, he's been conditioned, both boys.
They've been conditioned. It's terrible because it went on for so long. It's such a vulnerable age, too.
So people who are watching might be thinking, yeah, but so then the focus should be on the children right now. Why are you focusing on a lawsuit that will take so much of your resources and your time and your attention away from the children?
Because
this is for our children.
This is for our children, and for, like you said, other people's children as well. This is the school district that we all send our kids to every single day. And the very fact, if they're willing to do this, it almost shows that they are okay with doing this. They are okay with hiding things, covering their own rear ends, rather than protecting the children. You can't sit by and let it go.
No.
There are plenty of other kids. We have there's a community of people that have special needs kids that we're familiar with. I wouldn't want this to happen to any of them or their kids. You can't just sit by and allow that to be okay. Absolutely not. Especially not the way that they're handling it as well.
Who does not want justice for somebody who's vulnerable in society?
Right. Your message for other parents maybe that are watching out there, parents who's dealing with children with autism or children with cognitive disabilities?
If your child can't speak for himself, then you need to know what's going on in the child's classroom. You need to know what's going on with them on a daily basis. Because in our experience, obviously, the school is not transparent about what's going on. It takes a lot more effort. This whole lifestyle is a battle uphill, and this is another battle. You have to be very involved with what is going on with your children. Try to talk to the teachers, try to talk with staff, find out what's going on with your children when you're not around, because inevitably there will be a certain part of society that takes advantage of that. And I think that's what we're experiencing, is people that take advantage of vulnerable children that can't speak out for themselves, and that's absolutely not acceptable.
Nadine, I've known you to be quiet, but you're out here doing everything you can for your children. Tell me about that decision to just come out and, speak up and speak out.
Well, like you said, it's very unlike me to be very vocal about raw feelings and emotions. I mean, but when it's your children, you do anything for your children. And what they did is uncalled for, and I need to speak out and be an advocate for everyone. I mean, no matter how uncomfortable it may be for me, but to know that my children were abused on a daily basis, that changes a switch in me. And you want to fight for them. You want to find justice. You want to make sure that they're safe. Because if we didn't notice that telltale sign in the beginning until later on, I mean, you can't go back to the past, but you can move forward in the future and make the changes.
Do the boys know that you're fighting this much for them?
They know now. I think at the beginning they were confused why we couldn't help them. But now when we're talking to you, going to the local newspaper, they hear us on the phone most likely, they'll be thinking, wow, mom and dad are doing something now. And I know in my heart, you can read them and the love and trust is reestablished, and they know that they're safe. And I remind them every day that they're gonna have a good day and they're gonna be safe.
With that said, how far are you willing to take this?
I'm willing to take this as far as it goes, legally, as far as we possibly can. I want to see justice done. I want the school to admit what they have done. I want the school to think twice that if there's ever a report about someone abusing a child, that they have to take that seriously.
Maybe someday the boys will grow up, or maybe, they will learn to understand. If they watch this video, what will be your message to them at this point?
We've always got your back. Always, no matter what.
Mommy and dad will always protect you. We're always here for you, and we'll do the best we can to be your best advocate.
We also want to inform everyone that we did try our best to contact via email and via phone call some parties and some individuals on the other side, just trying to give both sides of the story. We have not received any response. We have spoken to someone on the phone who actually referred us to their community relations and public relations officer of the school district, and we have then pursued that lead. We placed a call, we sent an email, but we haven't received a reply yet. And so we're going to try to pursue that in the interest of fair reporting. We're going to try to get their side as well. But we can only do so much. We hope that they respond to us as well and grant us their side of the story. But for now, thank you for joining us. May this be a lesson, a reminder for us all, especially for parents, to be involved in our children's growth and development, make sure that we know what's happening to them, as well as for us as a society. You know, taking care of children is first and foremost the parents' responsibility, but as a society, we will be judged by how we nurture our children because they are our future. And so we thank the Wong family for being brave enough to share their story with us, and we promise to continue to follow the story for developments as they fight for justice for their twin boys.